Hey guys, and welcome to my top 20 contemporaries of all time. I tried putting them in order, but I really couldn't, so these are no way in order. So yes, the first one is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. So I don't have my book because I lent it to a friend, but yes, I'm pretty sure everyone in the booktubing community knows about Fangirl. If people didn't love Eleanor and Park, I would still suggest reading Fangirl because it's completely different, very different tone, and it's about a girl who's a fangirl of this Simon Snow fandom, so kind of like Harry Potter, and a lot of readers could relate to her, and Levi, the love interest, is just so freaking amazing. So I definitely recommend it to people who want a lighthearted read, but at the same time there's a lot of emotional depth. The second book is Pushing the Limits by Katie McGarry. I've read this as well as the second one, which is Dare You To. I still have not read the third, but this, comparing it with the second, this is definitely my favorite. This is very heavy. I feel like the main protagonists both have a lot of issues that teens shouldn't really be going through, but these two do, and I just loved the developing relationship of the two, and I especially loved the girl, and her name is Echo Emerson, and this book was addicting. I initially read it and I gave it 4.5 stars, but the more I thought about it, the more I loved it more, so I just changed my rating to 5, and you guys need to read Katie McGarry books. If you're a contemporary fan, then your life is not complete without reading a Katie McGarry book. The third book is The Distance Between Us by Casey West. I love this book. This book reminded me a lot with Anna and the French Kiss, which I will be mentioning later, and it was such a quick, fun, awkward, tension-inducing book. I really loved it, and it reminded me of the times when I reread Anna and just like basically how I was feeling while reading Anna. There's a lot of like squealing moments, and it was a perfect read for contemporary fans that want something to cheer them up. The next book is Smart Girls Get What They Want by Sarah Strohmeyer. I read it in a single day. I could not put it down. I remember, and it was summer vacation, and there was a lot of things going on, but I'm like, gonna sit down and read this. And it talks about a smart girl. Like, how often do books emphasize about like smart girls? And she's like the top of her class, soon to be valedictorian, and it's a lot of fun. And I just really enjoyed it. It was very heartwarming, and I loved the overall feel of the book. To just give you an indication of how much I loved it, because I already have an ARC, but I actually told my sister to buy a finished copy, and I actually wanted to get another finished copy for myself, but then I'm like, no, that's just wasting money since we already have one. The fifth book is Such a Rush by Jennifer Eccles. I've read almost all of Jennifer Eccles' books. I'm pretty sure I've read all of them. And this one is by far my favorite. It's about a girl who is a pilot, or learning to be a pilot. I really loved the flying theme in this book, and I just loved there's a lot of emotions in this book, especially with the girl. She's dealing with a lot of problems, how they stereotype her to be someone that she's really not if you just get to know her. And I really liked the two boys that are the sons of the man that she's learning flying from, and the man that she was learning from actually passed away, and that's where the story really begins, and it's just really good. I suggest you guys pick this up. The sixth book is none other than Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. This is my first Rainbow Rowell book, and it tore me to pieces. I read it again in a single day. I was actually feeling pretty down when I read this book, and I was in bed all day and I could not stop reading it. I know a lot of people think that the ending isn't really satisfying, but I thought that it was a good ending. It fit the whole book, and this is another heavy read, and I love how the main protagonist isn't your typical skinny, pretty girl, but not really pretty until she gets a transformation. And this is exactly her. She's overweight and she's okay with it, and then the other guy is like Korean, and I just really love this book, and its simplicity and how it's set in the 90s. I think 90s or late 80s, I'm not exactly sure. It's just another book that if you're a contemporary fan, you need to have picked up and read. Then we've got How to Love by Katie Cotugno. I read this recently, a couple of months ago, and I fell in love. I raved a lot about it on my wrap-up, and this setting of this book is just amazing. It's set in 2 different timelines, when the girl is 16 and then 18, where she has a daughter already. And want to fill in the gap between the 16 and the 18, and it goes back and forth but in parallel at the same time, and it was done really well. And I just felt a lot for Rina, who's the main protagonist. And again, I love the love interest, though in the beginning you're just like, do I love you or do I think you're a complete douche? Because obviously when she's 18, you're not there. So what went on? And you just need to find out. And it's another book that's really emotional and it actually made me tear up too. Then we've got Heartbreak River by Trisha Mills. This book isn't that well known, and I'm not surprised if a lot of you have not heard of this and this is the first time you do. It was so emotional. It's about a girl who comes back to her town that is actually beside a river, and she's trying to forget something that happened, but then she meets an old flame, I guess, and you're just trying to figure out what that secret is. And it's very emotional, another one of the emotional books. And I loved it. I really loved it. I think the characters were very likable, and they're a lot, and they work at this kayaking, maybe like lodge sort of thing. And it was perfect. I wish I can reread it again. Then we've got North of Beautiful by Justina Chen Headley. You guys have seen this book so many different times, and I still haven't seen any of you guys pick it up, and I'm really sad about that because this is such a beautiful book, and I will leave my written review below because I expressed my feelings a lot about it and about the messages this book sends. And I think young girls, especially nowadays with so many insecurities and demands and expectations, I think this book would be perfect for girls like that. And initially it was a bit hard for me to get into, and I actually put it down, but then when I picked it up again, I just loved it, and it was such a good book. And she actually takes a trip to China, so that makes you want to pick it up. And there's geocaching in here, which is the first time I've ever heard of this, and it sounds really cool. And I wish I've heard of it before, and I've done it, but unfortunately I only heard of it like 2 years ago. So definitely check this one out, and it's just really emotional. Then we've got The Boys of Summer by C.J. Duggan. Could not stop reading it. Could not stop reading it. So listen to the synopsis, the very short version. Summer, Australia, the beach, and the 90s. It was such a fun read, and again this book kind of reminded me of Anna and the French Kiss, and it's just so perfect. Then we've got the book that I mentioned twice to this video before even showing it, and it's Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. I'm pretty sure if you're a contemporary fan, you've read this book. Like, I'm 100% sure. It's a definition of contemporary, lighthearted books. So good, set in Paris, a boarding school, which is something I love in my YA books, and Etienne St. Clair. Yeah. Then we've got The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. This is part of a trilogy, and this is book number 2. It's Not Summer Without You, and 3 is We'll Always Have Summer. You might think this book is like lighthearted and all that, but it's really not. Something tragic, sort of. You find out something sad, and then in the end it gets like more sad, but it has, you know, the whole beach theme, summer, perfect, first love and all that, and 2 brothers. I think you should read this if you want something really fun and light, but at the same time, you don't want just all fluff. And I just love the trilogy. I would definitely recommend marathoning it. And Jenny Han is amazing. She has written Burn for Burn and Fire with Fire, and her new book, which is To All the Boys I've Ever Loved, which I'm dying to read. So this is a trilogy that I've loved, and I would not mind rereading as many times as possible. Then we've got Knee Deep by Jolene Perry. It talks about this girl who has a boyfriend, but then I don't know what happened. I guess her boyfriend started having problems at home, and he started becoming more violent. It got kind of abusive, but she felt that she couldn't really leave him because she knows that's not who he really is. And there's a best friend who is trying to help her, and he's the best friend of both of them actually. I just thought that it was really emotional, and I know a lot of people have experienced maybe a situation like this or seen someone experience a situation like this, and I feel like this book would be perfect for these people. I did also cry. Then we've got This Song Will Save Your Life by Layla Sales. I read this in December, and I did not know I was going to love it this much. This was very emotional, and it talks about a girl who's trying to fit in. She's trying to reinvent herself and for people to like her, but for some reason people don't like her, and she contemplates committing suicide, and she tries to, but then she's like, it's too much effort, like, why am I doing this? But then she stumbles upon this warehouse party in the middle of the night, and that's where she starts DJing. And I just love the character development for her. There was a tiny romance, but I really don't care about that. I cared more about her and her basically going through all this and learning to love herself and not to care about what people think. And it was just a really, really, really emotional read. You'll notice a lot of my books are emotional, but this one really was. And I can't wait to get myself a finished copy because this is an ARC and I want more people to pick this up. I know a couple of booktubers as well as bloggers have been raving about this, but I just thought I would join in and rave in hopes of you guys buying a copy or like borrowing it from the library or whatever. Then we've got a sort of an adult chicklet book, and it is I've Got Your Number by Sophie Kinsella. I've Got Your Number is hilarious. So freaking hilarious. If you know Sophie Kinsella, you know her writing and her characters are so quirky and they get into like the funniest situations. I like how her characters, the women, are never afraid to do what they want. They don't care what people think about them. And I just find that's something I would never be able to do. I really like her main protagonists and I wish I could like be more like them, but not too much like them. And I've Got Your Number is about this woman, and she picks up a phone that was thrown in the trash because something happened to her phone, and she randomly finds this phone, but then it turns out it's a phone of some guy's assistant that quit. And they have these like back and forth texting and it was hilarious. And the story progresses, but like the beginning it's all like through texts or phone calls, and she is so unbelievably funny. But then of course they meet like a quarter in or like a third in, and it's just loved it. Definitely awesome. Another book is actually another Sophie Kinsella book, and this is my favorite, and it is Can You Keep a Secret? The setting is that this woman really hates flying, but she goes on an airplane. She gets upgraded from economy, I think, to business class, and there's this guy that's sitting beside her. But then she's really afraid of flying. They hit turbulence, and then she starts freaking out, and she starts blurbing every secret she's ever kept. Every secret. Like, the stuff that she says, I'm just so freaking embarrassed to even say them out loud. The guy doesn't stop her, so he keeps on listening and listening and listening, and the way it's done is like, sentence, secret, 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 and then it's like, oh, okay, the flight has landed. She's like, oh. And she's like really embarrassed because she just told every secret ever to a total stranger. So she leaves, like running, and then the next day when she's at work, she finds out that he is her boss. Yep, her boss. I definitely recommend it for you guys, especially fans who want to start reading chicklets that have only been reading YA. This is like the book for you, for sure. I know you're gonna love it. The next book is If I Stay by Gail Forman, another book that made me cry. And I think this book actually made me cry on like the first 20 pages. Oh yeah, 13 or 15. And I've read this a couple of years ago. I borrowed it from the library, and of course I had to buy my own copy. And it's really sad, and it starts with this girl whose family gets into a car crash, and she was one of them, and she loses both her parents, but she experiences an out-of-body situation where her spirit is kind of like looking down on her, and throughout the whole book she's seeing herself like get escorted to the hospital, and like all the people and like her boyfriend coming in, and she's just thinking, and it's mostly like an inner monologue between her and just her seeing what's going on. And it was really, really emotional, and just thinking about it makes me really sad. But there's a sequel to this, which is Where She Went, and I didn't love it as much as this, but it does have a good ending, if you know, after both your parents dying and all that counts as a good ending. But it's just, it's been stuck here since I read it, and I can't ever forget about it. And yeah, I would suggest you guys read it because it's only a duology. The next book is a book I actually finished reading yesterday, and yesterday meaning February 14th, so I have no idea when this video is going to be uploaded. But this is called My Life with the Walter Boys by Ali Novak. This comes out in March, don't know when March, and it talks about one girl, 12 boys, and one roof. So this girl, her family is like super, super rich, but her parents as well as her sister get into a car crash. She actually wasn't with them, and they all die. She gets shipped off to her mother's best friend back in college, and her mother's best friend actually has 12 boys. Actually, no, she has 11 boys and a girl, but the girl's such a tomboy. She actually thought she was a boy in the beginning. And you can imagine, this has like a cheaper by the dozen feel, as well as like a lot of like very awkward situations, but at the same time, there are a lot of emotional situations that make my eyes tear up when she remembers her family. It was a very awesome read. I could not stop reading it. I read it in a single day, 24 hours. I don't really know if this would still stay as my top favorite contemporaries in the long run, because I mean it's really fresh in my mind, so I'm like really obsessed with it. But I just thought I would still include it because yeah, I really want you guys to pick it up, and it sounds really awesome, and it is awesome. So 2 more books. The 19th all-time contemporary is Slammed by Colleen Hoover, but this Slammed just blew me away. Just the whole slam poetry aspect of it makes it so unique. I really like the aspect of them living like close to each other, but then them finding out, I think that he's a teacher at her school or something. And it was very addicting again. It was really emotional. I think it was written really well, and there's a lot of beautiful poetry in there. Like, I've never heard of slam poetry until I read this. And wow, guys, I would definitely recommend it to you guys. So the last book, I've talked about this before, and this book is just so pretty and so beautiful, and it's just, I loved it. And it is The Sea of Tranquility by Katja Millet. Okay. This is new adult as well as slam. I saw the Goodreads rating and they were like 4.4 something with like a couple thousand reviews, and I'm like, this is gonna be amazing. And I read it, and it wasn't just amazing, it was so beautiful. Basically, the main protagonist, Nastya Kashenkov, she used to be a music prodigy until an accident happened, and she couldn't really have the full function and dexterity of her fingers to still be at the top of, you know, the whole music scene. But basically, she stopped speaking. And this is set 2 years, I think, or a year after the accident, and she still isn't speaking, not a single word. So the story starts with her moving, I think, to her uncle's house, and she starts a new school, and the way that she dresses, a lot of people think that she is easy. But then you have the other guy, and his name is Josh Bennett. She was very intrigued by him. No one would speak to him, and she actually mentioned in the book that it was as if there was like a force field around him that no one can enter. And it's not a typical like romance. Like, there's a lot of things that you're like, what is going on? Like, you wouldn't really understand until you're really, what am I saying? I don't even know what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that this book is amazing. It's a riveting, unforgettable read. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Mary Maurice, because that's exactly what I was thinking. Colleen Hoover actually blurbed this, and she said, hands down, my favorite book of the year, and quite possibly all of Infinity. Completely agree. Don't think this is cliche. Don't think that boy meets girl kind of typical story and they live happily ever after. It's really not that. There's just a lot of like dynamics in this book, and there's a lot of other characters involved, and I really want you guys to read it. And a lot of people might think it has a sad ending, but it really does not have a sad ending. The ending is really good, so definitely pick this up. So I'm gonna try holding this all up. They're not all the books, but there's some of them, right? I loved every single one of these books in my own way. I definitely recommend you guys pick up a couple of those, and if you guys have any questions about them, then definitely like leave a comment below. But also, if you guys have any suggestions of contemporaries that I might love based on these, I would really love to know, because I can never say no to contemporary books. So I hope you guys enjoyed this very, very, very long video, and have a nice day.